Hello and welcome to the Writer Report. My name is Eric Ryder, and this week we'll be looking at the 1968 movie The Planet of the Apes. It was directed by Franklin Schaffner, and it was produced by Arthur P. Jacobs. The writing score was by Michael Wilson and Rod Serling, and it went on to be nominated for 3 Oscar awards. One of them was a honorary one for John Chambers for his contributions to the makeup design of the apes, particularly the prosthetics. And Morton Hack was nominated for costume design, and the late Jerry Goldsmith also had an Oscar nomination for Best Soundtrack. The genre of the movie is a science fiction drama, and the duration time was 2 hours and 4 minutes long. The movie, okay, right now we're gonna talk to you a little bit about the plot. Set in 1973, 4 astronauts embark on a mission to seek a new planet in hopes to get away from Earth, since Colonel Taylor seems to have somewhat of a disdain towards human society, so he decides to just try to get away from it all. So while he sets the course to whatever planet they land on, he and the rest of his other troop sleep in a little pad or a pod of some sort and go off to sleep. Cuts to the year 3478. The spaceship lands in the water, and 3 out of the 4 cadets survive. Unfortunately, Stewart died during the mission, so she sank as well as the spaceship, while the 3 surviving cadets go on to explore to look to see if there's any life on this planet. Taylor believes that they probably landed on the planet Bellatrix, which is part of the Orion constellation. When they arrive on Earth, suddenly Gunnar notices that there is life on this planet, and so he picks up a little shrub with dandelions. So if there's that on this planet, then this planet is capable of producing life. So while they relax and cool off in the creek, their clothes eventually get stolen by humans. But these humans were not like the humans on Earth. They come across as being mute, unintelligent, and somewhat inferior, almost like as though they were like animals. Suddenly a trumpet fair is within the horizon, and a band of gorillas eventually start chasing after these humans, including the cadets. One of them got killed during the chase. One of them was kidnapped and eventually had its brains taken out of them, while Taylor got shot in the throat and was placed in a cage where he was treated like an animal, beaten, sprayed with a hose, and other kind of torturous things. Meanwhile, the chimpanzees, the 2 particular ones, Dr. Cornelius, played by Roddy McDowall, and Dr. Zira, played by Kim Hunter, were doing weird experimentations, but then they noticed that this human that they like to refer to as Bright Eyes seems to be somewhat different from the other humans, being that he seems eager, that he wants to talk. Of course, at the time he couldn't talk because he was shot in the throat. Once he tries to make an escape, he was able to, and once his wounds in his throat started to settle in, he was now able to talk. And one of the most memorable scenes was as he was about ready to get another beating from the gorilla, he started saying, "Get your hands off of me, you dirty, stinking ape," in his gravel voice. Much to the ape's surprise, they discovered that this human, who of course is Taylor, can talk. He can communicate. Sure, he may not necessarily know all the laws of the land and stuff like that, but he was still taken to the high courts, to the high orders, led by Maurice Evans, Dr. Zaius, who seems reluctant to give any kind of information to Taylor. But of course, this planet is not just a planet of the apes, but there's also a lot of deep hidden secrets within this planet, and many of these deep secrets lead up to a certain area in their territory known as the Forbidden Zone, which is a place where no one is allowed to enter. But being the stubborn guy that Taylor is, he wants nothing more than to know what is behind the Forbidden Zone. Now these apes are kind of reluctant to give him any kind of information possible. And still, Dr. Zaius feels that this guy is still insignificant and lower ranked, and that he thinks that this conversation and thing is just something that he picked up from the apes. His ability to write, his ability to talk, because these apes have kind of sort of took over where we left off, and they're not telling us anything. Taylor, the only way Taylor can get information is to find out for himself. So one time while in prison, Dr. Zira's nephew Lucius graciously sets Taylor free, and Taylor does not want to go alone. He also wanted to bring another human friend that another human he befriended. Her name is Nova, which was played by actress Linda Harrison. So Taylor and Nova were set free, and much to the chagrin of the other apes. So Dr. Zira and Dr. Cornelius secretly lead Taylor to some kind of catacomb where there was an ancient discovery of what was once a human civilization. So inside the catacomb, they discovered a few things that were man-made, not ape-made, like dentures, a skull of a human, and a doll that so coincidentally talks. I mean, you squeeze its tummy and she goes, "Mama!" So all this time, Dr. Zaius has been keeping this whole human civilization debacle into a deep, dark secret. So while he has Dr. Zaius tied to a branch with a rope, Dr. Zaius decides that he's going to let Taylor free and to see for himself what is behind the Forbidden Zone. But he also warns Taylor that he's not going to like what he sees. So then he holds back the gorillas and instead decides to blow up the catacombs. And because of them illegally And because Dr. Zira, Dr. Cornelius, and Lucius went against the laws of the apes, they were eventually persecuted with heresy, while Nova and Taylor go off to look for what's behind the Forbidden Zone. When they arrive at the Forbidden Zone, they'll see something that totally shocks them. It appears as if we see a few remnants from the Statue of Liberty, and this eventually draws to the conclusion that Taylor never left Earth, and that he was here all this time, just back in another time zone. And it's led to believe that the human race were in an apocalyptic war, and they destroyed everything, including the Statue of Liberty. And he starts cursing down on us, calling us maniacs. We ruined everything. So in other words, the apes now live in what was once known as New York City. At least that's what I'm kind of led to believe. Alright, now that I've sort of gone over the plot, let me take my time to reveal my opinion. Firstly, I thought this was like one of the best science fiction movies you'll ever see. I mean, if you really want to see true classic Planet of the Apes, this is the one that kind of like set the tone. And I'm not talking about the 2001 CGI crap that Tim Burton made. This movie here is definitely the real deal. And I gotta give a hands out to Mr. Chambers for his makeup and prosthetics. Yes, that's right. These were actual real actors inside costumes and heavy makeup, which definitely beats any kind of CGI thing at any time. The performances were absolutely phenomenal, especially Charlton Heston. I also gotta say that that great support from Roddy McDowall as the more likable Dr. Cornelius. Maurice Evans made an astonishing great antagonist as the shrill, human-hating Dr. Zaius. I also like to give a big shout out to the female performers. Kim Hunter as probably one of the more lovable characters in the movie, Dr. Zira. I mean, you know, having her as a doctor would be, you know, anybody's dream come true. Linda Harrison turned also in a brilliant performance as the inferior human Nova. I also you may think that this was your typical sci-fi movie where you could just sit down, eat a bag of popcorn, and then just forget about it and just go for the ride. No. This movie makes you think. This movie has a lot of dimension to it, and there's a lot to consider when watching this movie. This is not just your typical dumb science fiction movie. You think about like what the theme is. To me, I think the theme of this movie is you can't escape from your problems no matter how hard you try. Taylor thought he would get away from it all by attempting to go to another planet, only to realize is that he never left Earth. He was just in another time period where a new species was taking over, and that what was once a great civilization is for naught. So I thank you very much for you reading my review and take your time to write to me. Thank you very much. Good day.